Okay, so quick video on how to use Revolve, in this case, to help you make the bearing cap detail that I will have spoken to you about in class. So you're basically going to draw a cross section, a bit like this kind of vague T shape here, that's designed to fit so that a little lip sits on the middle moving part of the bearing, steps up a little bit, comes out past the width of the whole bearing, and then is spun round into 360. If that was confusing, don't worry, because once you've seen me make it in SolidWorks, you'll understand what it is you're trying to make. The key for you guys is to get the dimensions right, because it must step up like this. Otherwise, your bearing cap will rub one half of the bearing against the other, and it will cause too much friction. So it should only rest on the inner, but be a grip that's wide enough for your thumb to cover the bearing, basically. Anyway, so open SolidWorks. If you haven't finished the nuts from last lesson, you'll need to do that at some point, but we're going to make a new part today, so choose part. Okay, when it loads, it's probably a good idea to save straight away. So I would go File, Save As, and if you were following my instructions last lesson, you will have made a folder in your OneDrive called DET SolidWorks. I can't remember where I made mine. DT example, I think, SolidWorks projects, fidget spinner, and you've already got M10 nuts. So in this one, I'd like you to call this bearing cap. Okay. One of the other tasks today is to make a model of the bearing as well, and you'll need to make sure that's also saved in here. So save your part before you do anything. Right, revolving is dead easy. Normally we start with a sketch, remember, on the front, the top, or the right plane. For this one, I'm going to use the front plane. So I'm going to select the front plane, and there's several ways of doing this. You can right click on it and choose sketch. There are other ways of doing it, but that's the one I'll show you for now. Okay, next step. I'm not going to give you dimensions for this because that's your job to go and figure them out, either with the vernier calipers or by working it out from reading the dimensions of the bearing. That's the challenge. What I'm going to do is show you how to make a shape and spin it round. So what we're going to attempt to do is draw a quarter of this cross section of this shape here. And it will all be clear when I do it. So I'm going to start with a line. Just the line tool is all you need for this. I'm going to start, remember you can zoom in and out with the middle scroll wheel. I'm going to start from the origin. I'm just going to move up. I'm going to move along and click. I'm going to come down a bit. Going to come back. Going to come down a bit. Going to come back. Going to come down a bit, and then I'm going to go back to the start. So it should go sort of dark grey blue. That indicates that you've made a closed loop. You can't extrude or revolve something unless it's a closed loop. And you might be thinking, Winter, you're going mad. How is that going to become round? Well, we're going to show you how to do that now with the Revolve tool. So go over to Features, and you'll see not Extrude, but next to it is a tool called Revolved Boss Base. If you pick that, um, it gets it wrong sometimes. Sometimes it might do it correctly, sometimes it might do it wrong. What it's done at the moment is it's decided to take that shape I've drawn, and in this case it's spun it around the blue line. Now that horizontal blue line is the wrong one. I wanted to spin it around this vertical line. So that's easy. I just go back over here to where it says line of revolution, delete it by hitting delete, and then choose the line I want to revolve around. Now, if you can see what that's done, it's taken that shape and spun it, imagine like that, around 360 degrees. And that's how we're going to make our bearing cap. Now, if you wanted to, not that you need to for this project, but just do it because it's cool to see. Say you put in like 45 degrees. You see what it's done there? It's just spun that shape through 45. Equally, you could do 180 if you needed to make a half disc. We obviously want a full 360, so we type 360, okay? And when you're happy with it, click the tick. If by some chance your model looks like that straight off the bat, you got lucky. But if it doesn't, you need to do what I said by telling it which line is the axis of revolution. Okay, that's it. The only difference is at the moment, I have no idea what size that is. And obviously it's got to fit into your 608ZZ bearing. So remember, a bit like my picture, this little nubbin here is going to have to fit into whatever size the hole is through the middle of the bearing. and the next step up has got to just cover this white inner core and then step up again before it gets to the outer bits. It's very important it steps up. See, I've deliberately put a kind of little purple line there to show there's a gap. Otherwise, your bearing will rub and your fidget spinner won't spin particularly well. It's your job to put the dimensions on it. So if you've just drawn it freehand like mine and now you want to put the dimensions on, you can go back and edit it. You don't have to start again. You go and find your revolve over here, right click on it, and can you see you've got edit feature or edit sketch? We want to edit the sketch it was based on, so we choose that. That's now taken us back to our sketch, and now we can go and get our friend Smart Dimension, okay, and we can start clicking between points and say, you know, put a size on it. I don't know, we might want to make that 1mm, and we might want to make that one, I don't know, 12. I don't know what the dimensions are. That's going to be down to you to figure out. But basically, add in your dimensions, get it the size you want. Remember, all your dimensions need to be half because we're spinning it, aren't we? So if this nubbin had to fill up a 10mm hole, we would want to make that 5mm because by the time it rotates 360 degrees, it produces a 10mm hole, okay? You can see there my little bit has moved. But this is where SolidWorks is great. You can kind of look, drag and adjust and put your dimensions on, edit the sketch, and whenever you're happy with your changes, come up here with the little arrow is, click it, and you'll see everything has now been updated. Okay. When you're happy with it and you think you've made it, save it, because next lesson we're going to be learning how to stick this on the 3D printer, and I guarantee most of you will find the first one you print doesn't fit the bearing very well and you might have to make some adjustments. Okay. Anyway, that concludes this video. Good luck.